Welcome back to Scotty's Hobbies. Are you guys ready for carb compliant brake pads? Well, that might be the thing of the future. Let me get into that in just a moment, but first, please hit that like button, subscribe, hit the ring bell, share, do all that good stuff. Check out the video library for DIY automotive help and a lot of regulations videos or deregulation videos. Now, why do I say, are you guys ready for carb compliant brake pads? Well, back on March 27th, 2025, during the Cal EPA board meeting, they mentioned approving funding for the research of brake pads and tire emissions, or the emissions that emitted from those components. And I didn't pay too much attention to it. But just the other day, somebody mentioned to me that CARB also is trying to approve $900,000 for research into brake pad wear as well. So today I finally got some time. I started looking into everything and I'm like, first off, how is CARB going to be giving out any money if they don't have any money, right? They're getting defunded. So how are you going to give out money if you don't have the money? We'll go over that too. So this research into brake pads and tire emissions, I was really only able to find information regarding the brake pad wear emissions research. What it really seems like they're doing is adding on to the research that was done back in 2020, where they did find that brake pads do emit emissions and pretty harmful compared to regenerative braking system vehicles, so EVs. With what the research that they're doing, what I think is going to come out of this is two different things. One might be carb compliant brake pads. So when you buy some brake pads, let me show you some brake pads. These are brake pads I have for a Toyota Corolla. There would be a carb compliant sticker on it that you'd have to verify to make sure that these are for that vehicle and compliant for that vehicle. Is this really a big deal? But CARB seems to think it is a big deal. So they're going to continue the research next year, or maybe this year, whenever the funding gets approved in the fiscal budget. And they're going to give out, again, $900,000 to continue this research. Either they're going to use this information to justify that regenerative braking is way less emissions emitting, which it is, because the vehicle actually slows down with the generator or the motor. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but when you let off the gas of an EV, it just starts to slow down, so you don't need the brakes as much as you do on a conventional vehicle. So they're going to justify that the emissions from a conventional vehicle are way more, not just because of tailpipe emissions, but also from the braking. This is getting kind of crazy. This is kind of the overreach. I guess it would be overreach. It could become overreach that I don't really like, but really, am I just fear-mongering? I might be, I don't know. But I'm wondering, I'm like, what are they gonna do with this information when it all comes out and they report everything? Usually when research is done and they find CARB finds that something is emitting emissions, they try to regulate it. Is that what they're gonna do with brake pads? Is that gonna be the next thing? Now then, I started wondering, again, back to the funding part, how are they paying for this? So I started looking into it. Just the state of California is proposing $1.2 billion for CARB this year, coming up for the 25 to 26 budget. That is $2 million less than last year, but it covers all of the pay or the salaries for, 2,100, somewhere around there, employees, which is an increase of 100 and something employees from last year. And then people are like, well, all of the executives are leaving, so who's even going to run this? Well, when a position opens up in California, so when you resign from a position, just in government in general, you might get fired from that position and then they delete the position. It's no longer there. But when you resign from a position, that position is now open so somebody else can fill it. So even if all these executives that are going to be running these programs are leaving positions in the EPA or CARB or Cal EPA or CARB, they're going to get filled by somebody else. They're not just going to sit stagnant and nobody's going to be there to fulfill this position. It's going to open up and somebody's going to be in there to take their position. So the federal funding that California gets is usually just for handouts, giveaways, stuff like that, and to do environmental justice research. Now, CARB has a list of potential grants that they want to fund. I'm going to provide a link in the description below for everything I'm talking about in this video as well. So you can go check it out and see what I'm talking about. In the proposed budget, it says $1.2 billion for CARB. I'll put that up here real quick so you can see it. Pause it if you need to. But you can see CARB's going to get $1.2 billion just from California. Part of that budget is handing out grants through their environmental justice programs themselves. Now, they are going to lose some funding from the feds to do more handouts, but there's still going to be a lot of environmental justice research that's going on. I'm really afraid that sometime soon there's going to be CARB compliant brake pads, and what is that going to do to brake pads? Increase the price. Now, I'm not sure if there's a problem with cheaper brake pads emitting more brake particles or emissions particles compared to expensive brake pads. I don't know all that. But when I was doing this research, I'm like, why would they be doing research? What is going to be the end goal of this or the end outcome of this? I could only assume that they're going to try to regulate or put rules on the brake pads that we are now going to be purchased next. But what do you think? Do you think it's just a nothing to worry about? There's a lot of stuff out there in the world that's just we really shouldn't worry about. Is this one of those things? And if it is, let me know below. Comment below. Just let me know. What is your take on the emissions coming from brake pads? Have you ever even thought about the emissions coming from brake pads? Personally, I never have. You can smell like big rig brake pads, the shoes, when they're in front of you sometimes when they're getting really hot. But is that emissions that you're breathing in? They say if you could smell smoke outside, you're breathing smoke. Is that the same thing with brake emissions? Some of this stuff is like wackadoodle to me. But that's just my take on this. What is your take? What do you think about this? Comment below, please. Get involved in the conversation. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for checking out Scotty's Hobbies, and I will see you guys on the next, hopefully helpful video.